Tired, bro. Long day at work. Go ahead and see what these kids doing. Bro, what are you doing?
Huh?
What are you doing?
I'm just playing Fortnite.
Oh, okay, my bad, dog. Go ahead. Hey guys, where were you the first time you got caught doing something like that? I'll never forget my time. I'll share it with you another time because that's not what this video is about. But all of us can relate to the urges that goes on in the mind of a teenage boy. Maybe your kids are already dealing with that right now. Maybe you don't know exactly what to say to them, how that conversation should go. Today we're going to talk about the top 10 reasons every father should caution his boys against masturbation. Number 10, it seems to be a simple concept about human sexuality, but it seems like that's the one we struggle with the most. The reality is we're really good at giving ourselves to people who don't deserve it. Therefore, if we're going to talk to our children about sex, why not start with the truth about the creation of sex and why it exists in the first place? You'll be surprised what your kids know about sex. If you haven't sat down and talked to them, you'll be surprised what they know, but you'll also be surprised at what they think they know. Because they go to school with a bunch of kids that are exposed to a lot of different things. They talk about these things. They fantasize about these things. It's in the music that they listen to. So the question is, what triggers do you have in terms of sexual experiences? Well, for me, I was extremely young when I was first exposed to sex. I believe I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I will never forget the experiences that came with that. Because I did not have the relationship to go and talk to my parents, there were consequences that I had to face that I didn't really deal with until I became an adult. Some of them, if I was to be honest with you, I'm still dealing with them, still struggling with them. Perhaps you don't know the extent that your kids have been exposed, but to whatever degree they have been exposed, they have triggers that can influence them to do things that are extremely unhealthy. There are studies that show that masturbation is a major contributor to erectile dysfunction. A lot of it don't necessarily have to do with if it does or does not work. A lot of it is linked to psychological patterns that are associated with being stimulated for an erection so that you can experience orgasm. There's a lot of mental processing that goes into it. Now, once you get yourself in a situation with a woman, hopefully your wife, then you'll find yourself in a situation that it can affect your confidence. It can affect the fact that you're so accustomed to doing everything yourself that it's all centered around you. And believe it or not, she will feel like she's not valuable. She will feel like she's not beautiful, and it will affect her in a lot of negative ways. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I remember I was a 7th grader, and everybody was talking about it, and I was playing along. And the truth is, I had never experienced anything like that. But one day it happened. One day it happened. And not only did it happened again, then it happened again, and then it happened again, then it happened again. And I became almost addicted to it. It was a great experience. And you got to be honest with your kids. You got to tell them that a lot of times the reason A lot of people do these things because it feels good. People are not doing this because they don't feel good. It feels good. But in the process of being honest with them about how it feels, you also have to be honest about the consequences that comes with the feeling. Some parents will probably say, I would rather my kids do that than to actually be with someone. Like, why does it have to come down to those two options? How about I would rather my kids keep themselves from marriage? Healthiest thing to do. I don't know about you, but I want my kids to be healthy. I don't want them to fall into the pitfalls that I fell into. I don't want them to be exposed to the same garbage that I was exposed to. And more than anything, I want them to be able to come and talk to their father about whatever it is they're going through, regardless of how uncomfortable they are with it. And I want to be able to handle it as well. As I'm talking to my kids about this challenge that many kids are struggling with, I do want them to understand not just the consequences that come presently. There are also some future consequences that are involved. And one of the consequences is the one you just saw, the fact that long term you can damage your ability to stay connected and your ability to feel what's going on. So if all somebody know is whatever you want, whatever slang you want to use, you want to say masturbation or beating off or whatever you want to call it, if all somebody know is that activity, the truth is the more they do it, the more numb they're going to become to the real thing. And it's not just with masturbation, that's almost true with anything in life. Imagine you've been training yourself since the age of 11 to whatever age, right? Hopefully it's when you get married, but whatever age you engage in a sexual relationship. You've been training yourself since the age of 11. Finally you get with a woman, and it's only one thing that you can do. And that's the thing that you've been practicing. And if you do the thing that you've been practicing, if masturbation is that thing, what happens is you do her an entire disservice. Statistic tells us that 1 in 3 women actually have orgasms. That means 66% of women who are having sex are not experiencing what you are experiencing. Some of it is linked to a lot of different variables, but some of it is linked to how men have trained themselves, or I can speak in general, how we have trained ourselves for our own satisfaction, not for the satisfaction of someone else. Now, I think when you're talking to your boys, I think this is one that you can start with. Everything else is just fluff, but this is one you can definitely start with, because it's like someone smoking cigarettes at a young age, and then by the time they're 30, 40, 50, they've been smoking cigarettes since they was 13 years old. So now they build up a dependency on the nicotine that comes from smoking a cigarette. But when it first started, it was not about the nicotine. It was about the social life that came from smoking cigarettes. But masturbation is the same way. If you have a bunch of friends, if you're associated with people who are doing this on a regular basis, maybe they are, maybe they're just talking about it. But at the end of the day, is it worth you experiencing something that you're going to then become dependent on? Because if the aim of masturbation is an orgasm and you've never experienced an orgasm, what are you really pursuing? That is a good question to ask your kids concerning this area. And it goes back to the last thing we talked about, because when once you experience it, it's like, okay, now I want it. Okay, now I want it again. I was in the 7th grade. I will never forget. I will never forget. You will never forget it. 7th grade. It happened one day. I said, man, I got to do that again. Happened the next day. Oh man, I got to get another one. That happened the next day. I may have hurt myself, seriously. And then finally you get to the point, because it's like once you experience it, there's no going back. So just be patient. Like your time will come, and when it does come, the moment will be so special. Not only that, but you would have trained yourself in self-discipline, so that when that moment comes, it can come with the right person at the right time, continuously. So I'm talking to my boys, and I ask a question. What are you thinking about when you get an urge to masturbate? Now, if they're being honest with you, they'll tell you what they're thinking about. But you have to build that relationship with them before that moment. You can't come home from work, never talk to them, never engage with them, never ask them what's going on, never ask, anything pertaining to their lives, but all of a sudden, you have a feeling that they're masturbating and you're ready to talk. They're not going to be open with you. It's all about a relationship. It's all about intimacy. And it's all about them opening their lives up to you so that you can be a part of it. And it is a beautiful experience. Sex is a natural thing. There's nothing wrong with a teenage boy getting horny or feeling or experiencing some type of feeling. There's nothing wrong with that. They were created to do that. So our job as parents is to help them identify what that is so that they don't become reckless with it. Like some of us are as adults. Some of us are adults and we struggle with so many different things sexually because nobody have never taken the time to sit down with us, to talk to us about the real consequences of our sexual drive. This goes back to one of the things I said earlier, that once you experience it, your life will never be the same. I have done some teaching at a drug rehab center, community court, family court, all these different community organizations that I've had the privilege to be associated with. And I tell you the truth, a lot of people who struggle with addiction, primarily males, masturbation was the first addiction. It was the first one. Why? Because sometimes when you experience something so great, so beautiful, when you experience something that's out of the norm of everyday life, you find yourself chasing it over and over and over and over again. But the truth is, you'll never be able to get the experience you got the first time. Not only is masturbation the first addiction for a lot of people who struggle with addiction in other areas, but the way it came was in an unhealthy way. It was not healthy exposure to sex. It was very unhealthy. Sometimes it came from family members. Sometimes it came from the boys. Sometimes it came from step-parents. Sometimes those experiences came from teachers. And finally you get to the point where this person is so locked in with their experiences that they allow their experiences to begin to shape who they are. And then they turn 20 and 25 and 30 and 35 and 40 and 45. And what you see is the fruit of dysfunction from a life of unhealthy exposure to sex. Guys, this type of thing happens every single day. We have a responsibility to sit our kids down and talk to them and be honest with them, even about our failures, and our experiences. Only because we love them so much and we don't want them to travel the road that we've traveled. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video. And if this video was helpful to you in any kind of way, leave a comment, and maybe you can share with me a few other videos like this you would like for me to do. I'm Nick Willis from the Fatherhood Leadership Initiative. Till next time, peace out.